Title: The Day Camille Dorsey Reclaimed Her Name. The hum of fluorescent lights echoed above a faded welcome sign, flickering like the pulse of a building that had long forgotten who built it. Camille Dorsey paused under the tired ceiling, her hand wrapped tightly around the strap of an old, weathered handbag. Nothing about her appearance suggested power. And that was precisely the point. The woman standing in the lobby was not dressed like the CEO of Beringer Financial. No sleek suit. No designer heels. No stylistically pinned curls. Her jacket was plain navy, fraying just slightly at the wrist. Her shoes were flat and scuffed from city walking. Her natural curls framed her face with quiet rebellion. And her presence, though understated, commanded the room like thunder beneath silence. She wasn't there for applause. She was there to see who among her team had forgotten what leadership looked like. It was her fourth unannounced branch visit in 2 months. No press. No entourage. No memo. Just Camille, walking into spaces she'd helped build from scratch. Looking for the cracks no quarterly report would show. A voice pierced the static of the room. "Can I help you?" "Ma'am?" Camille turned slowly. Behind the front counter stood a man in a too-tight silver tie and a posture that screamed unchecked authority. His name tag read, D. Hudson, branch manager. Daniel Hudson's jaw clenched as if he were already preparing for conflict. Camille offered him a neutral smile. "I'd like to make a withdrawal." Daniel glanced down at her hand, taking in the worn leather wallet she now held up. His mouth twitched with the effort to suppress a smirk. "You'll need ID," he said. Camille nodded, already expecting it. She handed over her driver's license and a platinum staff cardone issued to the CEO herself. Daniel barely glanced at them. "This is a high-limit request?" he asked, thumbing the card. "How much?" $75,000. He blinked, then let out a half-laugh. "That's not a casual transaction. You're aware?" Camille didn't flinch. "Very." He waved a hand toward a nearby teller. "Olivia, can you come here? We've got something unusual." A young woman, early 30s, approached. Olivia Price walked with the grace of someone who had been underestimated before. When she looked at Camille, there was a flicker of recognition. Maybe. Or just awareness. "Ma'am's trying to withdraw $75,000. Daniel explained, his voice layered with performative caution. "Cards don't match anything in our system." Olivia took the license and card and turned to her monitor. A few keystrokes later, the name Camille Dorsey appeared on screen. Flagged CEO. Executive override access. Olivia froze. Daniel noticed. "Problem?" She hesitated. "Sir, this ID, it's legitimate." Daniel leaned over to look, disbelief creeping into every syllable. "You're telling me this woman dressed like the is Camille Dorsey?" Camille met his gaze. "I didn't claim to be anyone. I gave you my credentials. You chose not to believe them." He laughed, loudly. "No offense, but that's a wild story." Olivia turned her monitor slightly, enough for Daniel to see. His smirk faltered. "It's her," Olivia said, voice quiet but certain. The silence that followed pressed down on the lobby like humidity before a storm. Around them, the other tellers slowed their motions. Customers shifted in their chairs. Daniel's voice cracked. "Anyone can fake a system profile. I've seen back-end hacks before." Camille's brow arched. "You think I hacked my own bank systems?" No response. Just the steady thickening of tension. "I'd like to speak to your HR representative," Camille said, voice calm as stone. Daniel stammered. "That's not necessary." "It is." He reached for the phone and dialed, fingers fumbling. As the line rang, Camille turned to Olivia. "Would you mind printing the security footage from the past 10 minutes? Olivia nodded and walked off silently. Camille remained where she stood moving, unshaken as if she hadn't just been dismissed by her own employee in her own institution. Moments later, the elevator at the back dinged. Henry Barlow, the regional HR representative, stepped out holding a clipboard. His eyes scanned the room, landing finally on Camille. Recognition bloomed in his expression immediately. "You called for me?" he asked. Daniel interjected before Camille could speak. "Henry, You know this woman? Henry's mouth tightened. Yes. This is Camille Dorsey. She's the chief executive officer of Beringer Financial. Daniel blinked like someone trying to reset reality. I didn't. The system wasn't, he fumbled. Olivia cut in quietly. I ran it twice. It all checked out. Camille said nothing. Her silence was louder than any outburst. Henry looked at Daniel. Let's talk in private. No. Camille said. Her voice crisp. I want this to happen here. Everyone watched it unfold. Everyone should hear the correction. Olivia returned, laying printed stills from the security footage on the counter. Audio. Timestamps. The whole truth. You were disrespectful. Camille said. Not just to me, but to this team and the client standing here. I made a mistake. Yes, but not the one you think. I made the mistake of giving you a chance to demonstrate leadership. Daniel's voice was barely audible. I didn't mean to. You did. She corrected. You made a decision. Over and over again. You chose suspicion. You chose condescension. And you did it publicly. She turned to the room. Beringer stands for more than numbers. We stand for dignity. For every client. For every employee. No one should walk into a branch and be treated like less because they don't fit your idea of power. A hush swept through the lobby. Effective immediately. She said to Henry, Daniel Hudson is relieved of his position. Henry gave a solemn nod. Understood. Daniel's shoulders slumped. He gathered his things slowly, avoiding every eye in the room. Camille turned to Olivia. Thank you for doing your job. Olivia swallowed, blinking quickly. I just followed protocol. No. Camille replied. You followed integrity. Camille walked to the center of the room. This is a reminder, she said, of what happens when values are reduced to print. They must live in action. The next morning, Camille sat at her desk high above the city, untouched coffee beside her. She wasn't thinking about the confrontation. She was thinking about the silence that came after. That silence had meaning. Henry entered her office. There's more, he said. Camille looked up. More branches? He nodded. 3. Similar stories. Nothing explosive. But they're afraid to speak up. Then we failed them. Camille said. No. Henry corrected. But we can still choose not to. She turned to the window. Issue a company-wide statement. Not a PR fluff piece. I'll record it myself. Play it at every branch meeting. I want everyone to hear it from me. Respect is not a preference. It's policy. Henry blinked. You sure? More than ever. She also announced a listening tour 1 branch a week. Unannounced. And put Olivia on the internal culture panel. She added, they'll listen to her. A week later, Camille stood in a downtown branch lobby. Unnoticed at first. Word of the video had traveled not through headlines, but through inboxes and break rooms. When someone finally spotted her, a hush fell over the room. MS. Dorsey. Someone whispered. Camille shook her head gently. Just Camille. The branch manager, a young woman named Stephanie, rushed over. I didn't know you were visiting. That's the point. Camille asked for 10 minutes with the staff. Chairs were pulled into a semicircle. Staff gathered. I won't speak long. Camille began. What happened at Tucson wasn't about punishment. It was about reflection. She spoke of dignity, of leadership that sees people, not numbers. She asked for input. One teller spoke about improving greetings. Another admitted to judging clients based on account size. Camille didn't scold. She listened. When it ended, she shook every hand. No title necessary. Back at HQ, a new plaque waited on her desk, the bank with Camille's values. She smiled, then turned to her laptop. The real work was just beginning. Because Camille Dorsey didn't just reclaim her name. She redefined it.